The black sands of Iwo Jima still whisper a story of fire, courage, and unimaginable loss. In just 35 days of combat, over 26,000 Americans became casualties, and nearly every Japanese defender was killed. It was a battle fought for a speck of volcanic rock in the middle of the Pacific. A battle that raised one of the most famous flags in history, and a question that lingers even now: was victory worth its terrible price? It is early 1945. The once vast Japanese empire is crumbling. Its navy lies shattered, its air force crippled, its cities burning beneath waves of American bombers. Across the Pacific, Admiral Nimitz's island-hopping strategy has carried Allied forces ever closer to Japan's doorstep. From Tarawa in 1943 to the Marshalls and the Marianas in 1944. Each island has fallen after fierce and costly fighting. Yet every victory brings a grim lesson: the closer the Allies get to Japan, the deadlier the resistance becomes. Palilio, September 1944, shows just how savage these fights will be. Thousands dead for a few square miles of coral. Still, the campaign must go on. The next objective is chosen: a small island called Iwo Jima. Barely 8 square miles of volcanic rock, Iwo Jima lies halfway between Tokyo and the American air bases in the Marianas. For the United States, it offers a perfect emergency landing field for damaged B-29s returning from bombing runs, and a base for long-range escort fighters to protect those bombers on their missions over Japan. For the Japanese, it is home soil, part of the Tokyo prefecture itself, and its loss would be both a strategic and psychological blow. The task of capturing it falls to the U.S. Marines v. Amphibious Corps 3 divisions, nearly 100,000 men, supported by more than 700 ships. The operation is code-named Detachment. American planners predict the island will fall within 10 days. Defending it are about 21,000 Japanese troops of the 109th Infantry Division, commanded by Lieutenant General Kuribayashi Tadamichi. A brilliant strategist, Kuribayashi has studied earlier defeats and resolved to change tactics. There will be no massive banzai charges, no suicidal defense on the beaches. Instead, he will let the Marines come ashore, then destroy them through attrition, from an intricate web of tunnels, caves, and hidden bunkers carved deep into the volcanic stone. In mid-February 1945, the U.S. fleet gathers off Iwo Jima. Battleships and cruisers open fire, hammering the island for 3 days. The bombardment is intense but short, far less than the 10 days Marine commanders had requested. On February 19, the first wave of landing craft moves toward shore through heavy surf. At 9 a.m., the ramps drop, and the invasion of Iwo Jima begins. At first, resistance seems strangely light. Marines wade through gray volcanic ash that swallows their boots, struggling forward under heavy packs. Then, at exactly the moment Kuribayashi planned, the volcano erupts. Not with lava, but with fire from hundreds of concealed guns. Mortars, artillery, and machine guns tear into the beaches that had seemed silent moments before. Within minutes, the sand is littered with burning vehicles and wounded men. The 4.5-meter terraces of ash slow every advance. Bulldozers fight to clear paths as shells crash around them. By midday, the Marines have clawed out a narrow foothold and begun pushing toward Airfield No. 1. To the south looms Mount Suribachi, a dormant volcano now alive with Japanese fire. By nightfall, only a fraction of the day's objectives have been secured. February 20th, the second day, brings no relief. Airfield No. 1 falls to the Marines, but elsewhere resistance stiffens. In the east, the men battle toward a position known simply as the Quarry, while the 28th Regiment begins encircling Suribachi. Facing 70 reinforced concrete emplacements, Kuribayashi orders every man to think of his position as his grave, to fight until death and take 10 Americans with him. On the third day, a cold rain sweeps the island, turning volcanic ash into sticky mud that clogs weapons and files engines. Automatic rifles jam, Marines fire single shots. Despite the misery, the 28th begins the slow climb up Suribachi, while other divisions assault the first of the main defensive belts. Every cave, every bunker has to be cleared by hand with grenades and flamethrowers. The Japanese network of tunnels allows defenders to appear, fire, and vanish underground. At night they counterattack through hidden exits, forcing the Marines to keep flares burning and illumination shells bursting overhead until dawn. On February 23rd, 4 days after D-Day, the 28th Marines reach the summit of Mount Suribachi. The surviving Japanese have slipped away through tunnels to the north. When a small American patrol raises a flag, cheers erupt across the island and aboard the ships offshore. Later that day, a larger flag is raised. An image captured by photographer Joe Rosenthal that becomes one of the most iconic photographs of the 20th century. Yet beneath the symbol of triumph, the battle is far from over. Kuribayashi's main defenses lie in the north, and the hardest fighting is still to come. The Marines now face Airfield No. 2 and a maze of bunkers, minefields, and anti-tank guns that stall their armor. Infantrymen advance yard by yard, using flamethrowers and demolition charges to root out resistance. To the east stands the Meatgrinder, a complex centered on Hill 382, Turkey Knob, and a basin called the Amphitheater. Each position supports the others with overlapping fire. Progress is measured not in miles, but in 100-yard touchdowns. One Marine company of 240 men is reduced to just 18 fit for duty. Japanese soldiers fight with relentless discipline. Many wait silently in their caves until American tanks are almost on top of them before opening fire. When the tanks retaliate with napalm or flame, the heat and smoke turn the tunnels into infernos. Survivors crawl deeper underground, often dying where they hide. By February 28th, the day U.S. commanders had expected victory, the island remains far from secure. General Schmidt orders the 3rd Division to push through the center toward the western coast to split the Japanese lines. A massive artillery and air bombardment precedes the assault. The Marines seize the ruins of Airfield No. 2, but the price is staggering. By early March, the front dissolves into dozens of small, isolated battles. Hill 362, Hill 362A, and Hill 362C become names etched in Marine memory. Men fight in hand-to-hand combat for shattered ridges. Casualties mount: 3,000 Marines killed, 13,000 wounded. Of the original Japanese force, perhaps 7,000 remain alive. Still, they fight on. Kuribayashi forbids futile banzai charges, insisting on holding every position until the end. But not all obey. On March 7, Captain Inu Samaji leads a desperate night assault of 1,500 men from Tachiwa Point, hoping to break the American lines. Most are cut down by machine, gun and mortar fire before they reach the front. It is the last large-scale attack on Iwo Jima. After the failed banzai charge, organized resistance collapses in the east. The Marines reduce the Meatgrinder and push slowly northward. Kuribayashi retreats with his remaining forces into a gorge on the northwest coast that the Americans will later call Bloody Gorge. There, roughly 1,500 Japanese prepare to die. The Marines are exhausted. Many suffer from what they call battle fatigue, what we now know as post-traumatic stress. Their nerves are frayed, their bodies coated in ash and sweat. American loudspeakers call on the remaining defenders to surrender, promising humane treatment. Leaflets written by captured Japanese soldiers urge their comrades to lay down their arms. It is more honorable to live for the emperor and work for Japan's future. One letter reads, than to die like rats underground. Few listen. On March 14, U.S. authorities declare Iwo Jima secure. But Kuribayashi still holds out in the gorge, leading his men in silence. For 9 more days, The fighting continues underground, where grenades, flamethrowers, and demolition charges replace artillery. Kuribayashi sends his final message to nearby Chichijima. All officers and men of Chichijima, goodbye from Iwo. His fate remains unknown. He may have taken his own life or died leading a final counterattack. On March 26, roughly 200 Japanese troops slip from the tunnels and strike Airfield No. 2, attacking airmen and construction crews. It is a final spasm of defiance. By dawn, all are dead. The battle for Iwo Jima is over. 5 days after it began. The statistics alone convey the horror. Of 21,000 Japanese defenders, only 216 are captured alive. The rest are killed. American casualties reach nearly 23,000, including almost 7,000 Marines dead, more than in any other single battle of the Pacific War. For the first time, American losses exceed those of the enemy. Yet even as the island falls silent, arguments begin. Some U.S. Army and Navy officers will later claim Iwo Jima was not worth the price, that it offered little strategic value once captured. But its airfields soon prove their worth. In the final months of the war, more than 2,000 B-29 bombers make emergency landings on Iwo Jima, saving the lives of an estimated 24,000 airmen. Still, numbers cannot measure what was lost in the ash. For every man who left the island alive, the memory of Iwo Jima would never fade. Iwo Jima became the only major battle of the Pacific Campaign where American casualties outnumbered Japan's. It was a symbol of determination, and of the unimaginable cost of total war. The flag on Suribachi captured the spirit of victory, but beneath that photograph lies the exhaustion of an entire generation. The lessons of Iwo Jima echo in every military academy and in every debate over the price of victory. It reminds us that even when war is fought for survival, triumph can come at a cost that defies comprehension.